You're not gonna believe this, but we're gonna talk about ghosts. Specifically, we're going to talk about a time when everyone from scientists to spiritualists believed that they could talk to the dead. So if you're ready to get your spook on, let's get to it. Now, the ghosts I'm talking about here aren't the Casper variety. They're the dearly departed, souls that have moved on from this world but wish to communicate with those still living. Like your grandma who calls every Sunday to see how you're doing. Anywho, the belief that the soul survives death isn't exactly a new idea. But in the 1840s, a group of young women in upstate New York claimed to have discovered a way to contact these helpful ghosts, and so the spiritualist movement was born. In 1848, the Fox Sisters of Hydesville, New York, began holding seances in their home. During these seances, they claimed to communicate with the spirit of a dead boy named Peter who lived nearby, and they did this by making the walls of their home mysteriously tap. They became known as the tapping spirits. At first, the family thought the sounds were made by mice or maybe a loose board. But then they realized that the noises seemed to be responding to questions they asked, and soon they were holding regular seances to communicate with Peter and other spirits. News of their ghostly goings-on got out, and within a few years, spiritualism became an international sensation, spreading across the US, Britain, and continental Europe. But what exactly was spiritualism? First, there was the idea that the soul survives death and can communicate with the living. And second, there were mediums, people who acted as conduits for spirit voices, writings, or other physical manifestations. The Fox Sisters were some of the first mediums to gain international attention, but they wouldn't be the last. Now, just because something is called spiritual doesn't mean it has anything to do with the Christian God. In fact, many of the early spiritualists rejected organized religion. For them, personal experience, whether visions, seances, trances, or dreams, counted a heck of a lot more than scripture. Now, this wasn't to say that they rejected all authority. After all, mediums needed to be respected members of society in order to build a clientele. But rather than taking the word of a priest or a holy book, spiritualists emphasized individual experience and sought out prophets and teachers who shared their own stories of communicating with the dead. Another interesting aspect of spiritualism was its relationship to science, in an era when science and technology were seen as progressive and exciting. Many spiritualists viewed their movement as a way to prove the existence of the afterlife scientifically.